Hi, I'm Tiffany. Welcome to the Balanced Life podcast. So, I have been going through a bunch of my old papers. We moved here a little over a year ago, and I have been going through my notes and some of the things from years past. And I found I spoke at a conference 10 years ago this fall. It was a writers' conference down in outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And I found it was the closing session. I did a keynote, some workshops, and a closing session at that particular conference. And it really struck me that this closing session that I wrote is very applicable to my life now. And I thought maybe it'd be something that you would get something out of too. So I'm going to be essentially reading this transcript of what I said at that particular conference. I really hope that you'll enjoy it and that you'll get something out of it. There was a sheet that went along with this to kind of jot down notes because this is a lot about looking at your life and goals and things. You'll see. But I'm going to include the sheet on the website. So if you go over to thebalancedlife.com and click on the podcast tab, you'll find there the sheet that gives you the notes and the questions that I ask you to ask yourself. And maybe it'd be helpful if you want to jump over there now and print off a copy or jot some notes for yourself while you're listening, if you're in a place where you can write a few things down. If not, maybe listen to this a second time later when you've had time to think about it and start to apply some of these things. So this is the closing session of Catch the Wave 2014, a writers' conference that was held outside of Atlanta, Georgia. The name of this is The Writing Life, How to Do It All. Now, in this, I'm talking about writing, but this applies to every area of your life. Whatever your goal is, I was speaking to writers as a professional writer and people who were trying to break out or people who were working on their craft. So what is your area? Are you looking at your role as a parent, as a spouse, as in relationships, as a child, whatever it is, it's called How to Do It All. And I think a lot of times we feel like there's so much to do that we're completely overwhelmed. And the more gadgets they give us to make things easier, the harder it is for us. So let's dive in. The idea of relaxing with a good book in the evenings and then waking to write beautiful stories and how-to books and articles is simply a myth. Or is it? There's a great deal that needs to be done if you're going to be successful in your writing. But it's possible to get it done and still have plenty of time for writing. This class will be 1 part business systems, 1 part life coaching, and 1 part brainstorming, but it will be 100% thought changing. If you feel like there is no way to do it all, come to this class and learn how you actually can. What is your goal or dream? Here's some ideas you might have. Maybe you're a business owner. Maybe you're wanting to start a family or be a homeschooler, or you're getting ready to be an empty nester. Whatever it is, you need long-term goals and short-term goals. Consider why you aren't further along in your goals. Is it that you need to spend more time learning the skills of your trade? Do you need money? Do you need time? Do you need classes or things to help you to improve your skills, like a mentor, a coach? What is your goal and dream? What do you need to pursue it? Do you simply need discipline? I see that God's timing is perfect. I remember for me, I was really struggling for years. It was probably about 6 years as a professional writer. And I was looking for an agent. I would send queries out and I got rejection after rejection. But when I went to my first writers conference, goodness, I can't remember if it was 2005, 2006, something like that. After I'd already been writing for years, I already had a couple of national writing credits. I was starting to get paid with my writing. I attended a writers conference. And while there, a man was announcing the launching of his agency. And a year later, that man would become my agent. So it wasn't that the timing wasn't right yet. The right person to work with me, who became a mentor, and he really helped me to focus my writing. He wasn't even an agent when I was sending out queries. So don't be afraid to work on improving your skills, to keep focusing on your dreams, but to realize that sometimes the right people aren't in the right places yet for you to launch. In some cases, the right technology isn't there yet. When I was trying to do the things I'm doing now 15 years ago, it was financially impossible because the software alone was more than I was earning in a month. And so I had all these ideas on what I wanted my business to look like, and I struggled and I fought and I ran my head into walls. But I found another job. It paid me very well for years. I was able to do the things I needed to do at the time that I needed to do them. And then when my kids grew up and moved out of the house, suddenly technology had changed. My financial circumstances changed. And now I'm able to do my business the way I wanted to do it 15 years ago. But all that time was not lost because I was learning, I was reading, I was honing my skills, I was improving, and I was earning money in another area. I felt this pull to come back to writing, not writing novels anymore, but writing to teach people and help people. And I write a lot of content on a daily basis. Number 2, identify the key tasks to accomplish your goal. Marketing, developing business relationships, improving your skills within your trade, working with designers, marketing, social media experts. Don't allow interruptions outside of your own creation, jotting down ideas as you get them, to interrupt you. The issue is we can get so caught up in the shiny thing syndrome and the adrenaline rush of trying a new thing that we're not pushing forward to our goals. That's why I asked you early on, what is your goal and your dream? I said writing, but it can be any area. And I pointed out the need for short-term and long-term goals. Now, the long-term goals also need to have short-term benchmarks, but when my husband was working toward his master's in nursing, when he was still a paramedic and wasn't even a nurse yet, we knew it was going to take years and years and years to get to that. And he was working full time, and we had 4 kids and all the things. Sorry about that. But we had short-term goals along the way to accomplish that. By contrast, we had little things that we were trying to do, like save up for a car or, do this little thing with our kids, have a family trip, all these smaller things. So you need to have the short-term and long-term goals, and you need to identify the key tasks. And like I was just saying about my business here, I had to learn how to discipline myself to 30 minutes of reading a day to learn the skills. So when this technology was available, I was able to act on it. I have developed the skills over the last 20 years to be ready when everything was in place for me to launch. The same thing is true in your life. You're going to be constantly growing and you never arrive. Next, identify your definition of success, both what you say and what you actually believe. Think about these questions and jot down some notes. You might want to pause the podcast as you write these down because I really want you to think about this. What is your vision of success? You might have more than one. So if you do, are they compatible? Don't be ashamed of wanting high pay, high prestige, but also don't despise the day of small beginnings. We all have to pay our dues and start out small and work hard and maybe earn less than what we feel we're worth. But it's also okay to work hard and want to earn well and to be able to say no to people. You don't have to do everything just because you're capable of doing it. Don't feel the only definition of success is a dollar sign, though. Like I said, you need to have goals and you need to know where you're trying to go, but you also need to know, what does success look like to you? It may look like scaling back so that you can spend time on critical relationships. Maybe your parents are getting older, or family members, or your kids are at a certain stage that you want to spend some time with them. It is okay to not be driven by the dollar. You still need to be able to pay your bills. You still need to be able to provide for your family. But there may be periods of time where your professional goals take a backseat to your personal goals. That is still success. Now, this is the key question. Now that you've decided what your vision of success is, you've decided what you want your finances to look like, you need to look at whether your actions are reflecting what you say your goals are. So if your goals are professional success, and let's say launching a website, launching a new product, writing a book, whatever it is, getting a degree, are your activities reflecting that, or are your activities reflecting a desire for leisure and fun time? How much time are you spending watching programs or staring at your phone or playing a game versus time spent reading, learning new skills, earning the money to pay for the course you need to do, committing yourself to improving your skills? Identify what your actions and your calendar say about your vision of success. Now, this is a retroactive. You can kind of tweak and go, oh, well, yeah, I'm working toward this. But look at your calendar. You are now where you've worked to be up to this point, for good or for bad. So if you say your vision of success is to complete a specific project or go back and get a degree, how much time are you spending on each of those things relative to other areas? Are you sending out the bids? Are you doing the marketing? Are you committing to the advertising necessary? Are you making the connections? Are you following the industry or reading the books? We need to put together a 3-day and 7-day plan for this week. So what are you going to accomplish over the next 3 days to advance your goal? And what is your goal for the end of the week? And what do you have to do each day in order to accomplish that? I'm in here recording this podcast right now because I have the goal that I wrote last night of what I was going to accomplish today. And the first thing on my list was getting this podcast done when it's relatively quiet around my house and I'm able to record well. But I spent time yesterday preparing for that. When I found this sheet, I updated some of the information to share it with you. So my 3-day plan includes other things that I need to do to accomplish the immediate goals and get the tasks done. And my 7-day plan says, where do I want to be at the end of 7 days? And then goes backwards and adds the tasks necessary to get to that point. I wrote a book years ago called 52 Weeks of Business Success and 52 Weeks of Writing Success. It's a whole bunch of simple stuff. But that's because it's simple stuff that creates success. There's a really great book that I talk about often. If you go to thebalancedlife.com and click on the tab, What's Tiffany Reading? You'll see the compound effect. It's about simple daily things like the 45 minutes in the morning of focused work, which is what I'm doing right now, that helps you to accomplish the things that you're trying to accomplish. All right. So there's a story in the Bible. It's in the Old Testament. It's the book of Esther, and it's about a woman who is, she becomes queen. But in this particular kingdom, there's these really strict rules, and she's one of many queens and all these things. But there is a man named Haman who is coming against the Jews, and he wants to annihilate the Jews. And Esther is a Jew, but the king doesn't realize this. She is put in a position of wealth and prestige and, good things. And her uncle, who nobody knows is her uncle, comes to her and says, hey, you're in a position to help people. And she says, I can't. If I go before the king, I'll be killed unless he grants me clemency, because you're not allowed to appear before the king uninvited. And her uncle says to her, hey, you know what? If all the Jews die, you may survive, but what if you were put in this position for such a time as this? I feel like in my life that I have been put in different positions for different reasons at different times. For example, when my husband was going through school, I was in that position to help him um, learn how to do college. He had never planned on going to college. He wanted to be a paramedic, and that did not require a degree. And he wanted to be a firefighter, and that did not require a degree. And so he had gone through a lot of like vocational and fire training, but never really had to write term papers. But if you're going to get a master's degree, you have to know how to write papers. And I am a writer. So there was a period of time where I was there to help my husband to learn the skills that he needed in the next step of our family goal. There were other times I was called to be a mom. I've got my books on homeschooling over on my website, decisiontreelearning.com. You see my homeschooling resources, and I'm using my skills now to help and mentor and train and teach homeschooling parents. And there was another period of time where I was a coach. I was a writing coach, and I went out and helped people. So find what season you are in right now, because if you don't, the mission will be accomplished by another person, but you're going to miss out on that moment at that, I don't even know how to describe it. You were positioned to do something, and if we continually think we can kick it down the road, we can do something else, then we're going to miss out on the opportunities that we were specifically and uniquely trained for. I hope you got something out of this. Remember, it can be hard to do everything. And sometimes we're going to fail. Just try to fail forward. I'll see you next time.